Let's get to yesterday's action then. Arsenal have won their first 2 games in a top-flight campaign without conceding for the 3rd time in their history. And that was after David Raya and Leandro Trossard inspired them to victory at Aston Villa. And, Carve, given the fact that they'd lost both their games, actually, to Villa last season, was this a bit of a marker, do you think, for Arsenal to say, hang on a minute, we're in this race?
I think they were always in the race. I think what they did in their performance yesterday was to show that they were an even better side than they were last season.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have been saying one of the reasons they didn't win the title last season was because they didn't manage to beat Aston Villa. Now, I thought they did a brilliant job yesterday. Credit to Aston Villa as well, because they had a lot of chances. Ollie Watkins didn't really have a great day. I think
if that went in, it could have been a very different game.
Yeah, well, he had a couple of chances as well. I think he would have had trouble sleeping last night thinking of the 2 big chances that
Do you think
he
Ollie
missed.
Watkins has come back too soon?
What, from after the Euros?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think his overall play was really, really good. And I think there were reasons why he missed those chances.
That was ridiculous from David Raya getting up for that one.
I mean, brilliant save from David Raya. But just to get back to your point, I think we shouldn't just say just because Arsenal have beaten Aston Villa, it means they're going to win the title this season. I think the quality of the Premier League has become even better. I think a lot of sides, mid-table sides, even sides towards the bottom, have invested in really, really good players. So I think it's going to be difficult for Arsenal not just to, you know, get ahead of Manchester City and Liverpool, but I think it's going to be even harder to beat some of those other sides too. But yes, they've got a fantastic chance of winning the title. And I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant performance. And, you know, they ground out the result. You know, it could have gone either way, but by the end, they were really on top.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Ollie Watkins, but who probably couldn't sleep. I bet David Raya's head hit the pillow and he was delighted with what he did. I mean, that was a sensational save.
Sensational save, and I think it did
a
couple of things. I think it gave a lot of confidence to the players in that back line and to us as journalists. You know, this is a guy who has utterly vindicated the decision to go with him over a very capable Aaron Ramsdale. But also, it was a key moment in the match, because if Ollie Watkins had scored that, and we saw in commentary with Gary yesterday that really, if he puts it diagonally, if he puts it in the corner, Raya doesn't get near it. But the agility to be able to react so quickly to the danger in front of him from a predator, outstanding from David Raya. And a lot of people with heads in hands inside and outside the stadium. And I just think he's such an assured presence in goal. And when Arsenal have had their most successful moments, they have had that presence in goal. All of the teams in the Premier League that have been successful, you don't change your keeper very often, but when you do, you've got to get it right. City did that with Ederson. It looks like Arsenal have done that with Raya.
I don't want to take anything away from David Raya, because it was an exceptional save. But the only thing I would say is, if you watch, you know, people like me and Darren always have to get to games really early. So sometimes you see the players warming up, the goalkeepers warming up. That is one of the drills that goalkeepers do every day. Getting up and making a reaction save. So I know, yes, it was an absolutely fantastic save. But I think if you're a top-class goalkeeper, you'll be watching that and thinking, I kind of do that in training every day. I mean, well done to him for doing it in such a big game. But it is something that they train for and they're prepared for.
Yeah, OK. What about Trossard then? Because it's an interesting one. He comes on, he scores the goal. His celebration, to me, spoke volumes. Lack of celebration, shall we say. What does this guy have to do to get in that starting 11? Because he did it for them last season. He scored those goals that actually got them so close to City last time around. Watch that face. What does that tell you? And should he be starting?
I quite like those moody celebrations. I always remember Eric Cantona doing one with Manchester United.
Sunderland,
that's right. And he's just standing around imperiously.
Yeah.
You know, the confidence and the authority that you exude with a celebration like that. To answer your question, Arteta kind of sees everyone as first teamers potentially. And if you're talking about impact subs, when he comes off the bench, he makes an impact. So why would you change the way you play and suggest that he's got to... I can see why you would suggest it. He's got to start, obviously. But I think given what he can do, coming on at the end of games, when minds are tired, legs are tired, and he's fresh... And he said, didn't he, with his interview with Dave yesterday after the match, he's not sitting on the bench looking at his Twitter feed.
Oh, no, he's ready to go.
He's watching the game, he's seeing the spaces that he can pour into, and he's ready to take advantage. And he's a real inspiration for a lot of younger players who can see what you've got to do when you're not part of the team in terms of being mentally ready, physically ready and having the right attitude. So I like everything there is to like about
Is that a mark of Arteta as well, keeping players like that happy? Because he's clearly happy in some respects.
Do you know what? I don't think he's happy. I think the message he was sending out with that celebration...
He's happy, but he's happy enough to come off and do the...
But I think the celebration was brilliant. One of the all-time great celebrations I've seen. Showing my age a little bit, he actually reminded me of the lead singer of like a punk band. Because they used to be like, you know, punk bands used to be on stage and they'd have all these adoring crowds in front of them. But yet they didn't really want to acknowledge that. And that just that look, that blank look he had on his face. Yeah, moody face he had on his face sort of reminded me of my youth. Yeah. But the other great thing about that celebration was William Saliba. I don't know if you saw, William Saliba was like pushing him and telling him, go and do
as well. Thomas Partey was like
shoving him, getting him to do his celebration, and he finally did the celebration.
He did.
But to get back to your question, I think the message he was sending out is, I'm not happy that Martinelli is starting in front of me. I'm not happy that I'm not in the starting 11, and look what I can do with my first touch.
Yeah. I love the fact that the theme today is to get back to your question. Stay on track, please, guys. We're only in the first chat. Look, let's get to the squad then. Do they need to strengthen? Because Arteta's alluded to the fact that they might. You know, the window shuts on Friday. Do you think they will?
I don't think they need to, but I think he said after the game last night, they may do something. You know, obviously a lot of people are thinking they may sign another striker. I think Gabriel Jesus is out again.
Groin injury.
He picked up on Thursday in training. That may affect what they do with players going out as well. I know a lot of Arsenal fans would like to see Victor Osimhen come to London. Chelsea fans want him as well. I think that would be a dream signing, but I'm not sure Arsenal really need anybody else because I think they're such a strong squad and they've developed again over the summer, and I think they are going to be real contenders for the title, even if they don't sign anyone else.
What are the papers saying on Arsenal?
Well, I like this one, and I know you're going to like this one too, because it relates to that pickpocket story.
Oh, yes.
During the summer.
Yes.
Everybody knows it. Arteta, shall I do it again? Shall I tell the story again?
Oh, I think they know it,
don't
they?
Really. But anyway, pickpockets. The guys on the desk at the Sunday Mirror, lovely job summing up the game, really, because the headline says it all. This was a high-class mugging because Aston Villa, had they taken their chances, as Simon Mullock says in his report, then they would have been 2 goals up by the time Trossard had come on. Instead, they couldn't take their chances. And Trossard could with his first touch, as you were saying, Carvey. It is now, 17 wins from 19 in 2024. Sorry, 18 wins from 20, I should say.
Yes,
because,
add the one.
Yeah, add the one on there. Yeah, thank you very much, Vic. And Simon tells a story of the game because the context of the win is all important. It's easy to look at the victory and suggest that Arsenal did what they'd been doing so often last season, but they were let off the hook by some poor finishing from Aston Villa, for whom Morgan Rogers, I must just mention him in passing, he was outstanding, really, really good. I'll give you one other paper as well, because Raya gets his praise all across the papers today, and you can see why there were so many headlines around him. He was brought in from Brentford. Carvey did a lot of the hard yards around the transfer and the details of that, the initial loan.
Darmesh, actually.
Sorry, Darmesh. Go on, give Darmesh his praise as well. Everyone's getting their praise today. But just look at the subdeck as well. Just underneath the headline, Arteta hails unbelievable Raya after super save, because it really was gravity defying, and it had a lot of people at home just in disbelief.
Crystal Palace are considering a move for Arsenal striker Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah had looked close to joining Nottingham Forest after the City Ground club agreed a fee worth up to $30 million with Arsenal for the 25-year-old. But that deal has broken down after Forest were unable to finalize an agreement with the player. Nketiah had previously appeared ready to join Marseille earlier this summer, but the French side and Arsenal were unable to compromise on a price for the proposed switch. Marseille have since signed Eli Wahi from Lens. Palace have held a long-standing admiration for Nketiah and spoke to Arsenal regarding the England international earlier this summer. Nketiah has scored 38 goals in 168 games for Arsenal after coming through their academy. He netted 6 times in 37 appearances for Mikel Arteta's side in the 2023-24 campaign, but has been an unused substitute in both of their Premier League games this season. Nketiah's Arsenal contract runs until June 2027 after he signed a new deal in 2022. Palace have struggled at the start of the new campaign, suffering defeats against West Ham United and Brentford. Before Saturday's 2-0 home loss against West Ham, Palace manager Oliver Glasner said his squad had been unsettled by the departures from their squad, with Michael Ollis and Joachim Andersen the headline exits, adding that he wanted further signings before Friday's deadline. It was quite noisy, and we tried to build a shield around us. But we're all human, and you can't make it so that you don't hear the noise, Glasner said. It had a little bit of influence, but we've tried to focus on the pitch. But there were some heavy hits on the shield. Sometimes we were a little bit shaken, but during the training today, the feeling changed, and that's why I'm now smiling, because the players gave me a very good feeling that they can deal with everything that happened and that they are ready for a tough game against West Ham. We've lost 7 players and brought in 3. It doesn't mean we need 4 more, but it's clear we have to get at least 2 more players into the squad. Mikel Merino completes Arsenal medical as Real Sociedad midfielder edges closer to finalizing $33 million move. Mikel Merino has reportedly completed his Arsenal medical as he edges closer to finalizing a $33 million move to join the North London club from Real Sociedad. Mail Sport reported earlier this week that the Mikel Arteta's side had agreed a deal in principle with the La Liga club to sign the Spain international, with the Gunners looking to bolster their midfield options. On Sunday, Fabrizio Romano provided an update on Merino's imminent switch to the Emirates. He wrote on X, Mikel Merino has completed his medical as new Arsenal player with clubs exchanging documents, deal being sealed. Merino is now expected to put pen to paper on a deal until June 2028, with the option of a further year. Should the deal be completed, Merino will become Arsenal's 3rd permanent transfer this summer after the Gunners signed David Raya from Brentford and Riccardo Calafiori from Bologna for $42 million. Transfer chiefs at the North London club had been keen to add another midfielder this summer, with sporting director Edu having been in Spain this week to push a deal over the line. It comes as Fabio Vieira looks set to finalize a loan move to rejoin Porto in the coming days, having arrived in the capital just 2 years ago. Despite joining the club for $30 million in 2022, Vieira has struggled to make an impact in Arteta's side and was not listed in the Gunners squad for their 2-0 victory away to Aston Villa on Saturday afternoon. Merino was an integral part of Spain's successful Euro 2024 campaign, featuring in all of their matches during the tournament to help Luis de la Fuente's side clinch their 4th European Championship title. The 28-year-old could partner up with Declan Rice in Arsenal's midfield and already has experience playing in England, having joined Newcastle in 2017 initially on loan from Borussia Dortmund, before agreeing a permanent move in 2018. But his stay at St. James Park wouldn't last long, with Merino moving back to Real Sociedad that same summer, where he has registered 27 goals and 30 assists across 242 appearances in all competitions for the Spanish club. The Spaniard has just 1 year left on his contract with Sociedad and was not listed in their squads for their opening La Liga matches against Rayo Vallecano and Espanyol. Gary Neville praised Arsenal's summer, signing Riccardo Calafiori after he made an impressive Premier League debut in Saturday's 2-0 win over Aston Villa. Second-half goals from Leandro Trossard and Thomas Partey helped Mikel Arteta's side record an early season statement victory that ensured the Gunners maintained their 100th start to the new season. The Italy international was an unused substitute in the opening weekend win over Wolves, but made his eagerly anticipated first appearance as a late substitute at Villa Park. Calafiori replaced Jurrien Timber, who is effectively restarting his Arsenal career, having missed almost the entirety of last season with a knee injury. Neville was impressed by the contributions of both players, who now look set to compete for the left-back spot. The presence of two top-class options for that role will raise further doubts about the future of Oleksandr Zinchenko, who cut a frustrated figure on the bench yesterday. Zinchenko had a transformative effect on the Arsenal team upon his arrival from Manchester City 2 years ago,